So let's get this thing started, Arielle, my favorite person in the whole world, my business partner. So, Arielle, I admire you so much because you're just so on top of it. Like, there's just so much that comes naturally to you, and your understanding of business and how things work and just being efficient. You've taught me a lot, and I see you teaching other people stuff all the time. So I wanted to ask you some questions. And I think that, these are questions I want to know, and I'm sure other people want to know too. So before I start asking you questions, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, how you got started, all of that?
Awesome. Thanks, Angela. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Arielle. It's nice to meet you all virtually. I am a financial planner. Angela and I are business partners, but I also have another business where I help other financial planners systematize and automate their business processes. And what that means in simple terms is I help them set up their technology and make their process flow as smoothly as possible from the time somebody comes to them as a potential client through the time they sign on as an actual client, all the way through maintaining that client relationship.
And one of the things we talk about all the time, Arielle, is even though you kind of specialize in working with financial planners and other similar industries, the stuff that you do really could apply to anyone. It could apply to a plumber, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, whoever. We all, as business owners, anyone who runs a business, and I would even argue, I've started giving some of your advice to individuals in their personal lives. Like, you can automate and systematize your personal life too, and it's just crazy amazing what you can do. So what in your opinion, what are the most common things that most businesses are missing?
That's a really good question. And I think it just depends on the age of the person who's running the business is typically the deciding factor, but it's also their level of comfort with technology. For those who are already fairly tech savvy, I think the thing that's most helpful that's missing is tying everything together. A lot of the clients that I work with have already got scheduling software, email software, CRM, but they are manually entering data in each place separately, and they're repeating the same data entry over and over again. So having that tied together, linking them all, that's a huge part of what we do. We help people find that missing link. On the other hand, those who are not at all familiar with technology, and there are some clients that we work with that are in that boat, they're sort of in the 1980s as far as their tech stack is concerned. Having really just the number one thing for me is scheduling software, getting that in place, if nothing else, is a huge missing thing that I see. And just that alone, just adding that one piece, just adds so much efficiency. So it's really huge.
And no, anytime I have to work with a professional, if I have to email and call and do all of that to schedule an appointment, I just get annoyed. And even worse, if they have me fill out physical paperwork at any point, I get super annoyed. I'm just like, I could have done this from my cell phone or from home. Like, why can't I just go in anytime and schedule a time? Why do I have to call and get a call, leave my phone number and get a call back or get an email back? And it's just, nobody wants to deal with all of that in order to do business with you. Like, people want to be able to do business with you very easily, right? And so I agree with you that a lot of business owners, what are, like, outside of the scheduling software, because obviously that's a big elephant in the room. Like, if your business doesn't have scheduling software, that's a huge inefficiency in my opinion. But what are some other major inefficiency? I mean, you just kind of mentioned some, like that the programs don't all work together. So then there's a lot of manual data entry that's needed. And I know a lot of business owners will hire staff to do that stuff, which obviously a lot of that can be automated. I know because I've seen what you do. But like, if you had to run through like the top 5 or 10 inefficiencies that you see so often that people could easily fix, what would you say?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you were talking about filling out paperwork. It's so frustrating when you go to the doctor's office and you get there 15, 20 minutes ahead of when your appointment's supposed to be simply so you can sit there and fill out paperwork by hand with a pen, repeating the same information over and over again. It's like, just give me a form, let me fill it out once and let it fill everything else. So I would say, aside from scheduling software, which is number one, number two would be data gathering software. We favor Jotform. That's a really great system for any type of business that's financial planner or non-financial planning related. But there are others that are industry specific. It doesn't really matter what system it is that you use, as long as it can gather that data and you can send it to the clients and allow them to do it at their own pace. That's the biggest, most important piece of it. I'd say the third out of, if I had to give a list of five, it would be scheduling software, data gathering. Third would be email marketing software. And we like to use email marketing software not just for its intended use, email marketing, but we also like to use it for process related messaging. So when a client schedules an appointment, is there something that they need to do before they meet with you or after they meet with you? Can that instructional email be automated? Yes, it can. And email marketing is a great way to do that. I'd say fourth would be CRM software. CRM being a specific program to hold contact information. It's important when you're building long-term relationships with clients to keep track of who they are, what are their interests, what are their hobbies, as well as transactional related information, things you need to know, especially for financial service individuals to create their financial plans or work with their data. And fifth, that's a good question. I would say Zapier. Zapier, going back to the idea of linking it all together, it's a little more advanced in terms of the technology and the automation, but that's really the glue that kind of holds everything together and allows the data to transfer from point A to point B to point C, taking it to that next level that I mentioned.
Yeah. So I know that you haven't always been in this business of automation. Tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, what were you doing before, and then what did you do after that, and how did you become like this automation expert, and what were the things that you have gone through? Like, so many businesses, I think a lot of people expect to like start and then be where they want to be almost immediately, and I feel like for many of us that's not the case. It's a journey. Tell us a little bit about how you got started, what you were doing before, and what has your journey been like thus far?
Well, I would definitely say I'm the poster child for changing careers. And I really mean that. I've been a complete career chameleon. I went to college for fine art, painting, drawing, photography, and creative writing. So nothing at all related to either finance or automation technology.
So that's where your writing skills come from.
I guess.
I didn't know that. Okay, got it.
So after college, I needed a job and I applied for an internship at a photography studio. And I was really hoping to get it. It was a perfect fit for what I wanted to do. It was a really not a bad commute from where I was living, and I was so excited about it. Well, they didn't call me back for months, like 6 months. And I think what happened was my application got lost, but in the meantime, I was about to graduate and I needed a job. So I applied at a major bank in their mortgage department for a different internship. And I got it. And I applied, I went through the whole process, I got hired, and then the photography studio finally called me back and said, hey, we wanted you to come in, so sorry, we don't remember if we contacted you or not. And I was like, all right, well, I already accepted this job, let me just stick it out. It was a 6-month program, let me just stick it out and see how it goes. If I'll make some money, I'll save some money, and then I can go back to being a struggling artist, and that'll be great. Well, 6 months kind of turned into 6 years. I fell in love with the mortgage industry. I really learned so much during that 6 months that I never had exposure to before. It made me really interested in helping people with that process of buying a house or refinancing a house, which can be a huge undertaking for most people. And in my tenure as a loan officer, my clients would also start to ask me questions about other financial topics, things about insurance, things about investments, and I didn't know the answers to them, but I knew I wanted to learn more so I could help them in a more dynamic way. So my mom actually was the one who discovered the CFP program, and she told me about it, and she said, this sounds like it would be perfect for you, you should check it out. So I took the Certified Financial Planning Education, which is 18 months. I thought, at least I'll know the answers to these things. I probably won't change careers. It wouldn't be my plan to do that, but at least I'll have some extra knowledge. I can help my clients a little more thoroughly. And then I decided to move to Arizona with my now husband. And in a nutshell, I am clearly crazy because at the same time I moved, I decided that I was going to leave the mortgage industry and pursue a career in financial planning. And I ended up starting my own business because I couldn't find a firm that was a good fit for the way I wanted to work with clients. Long story short, I ended up joining the XY Planning Network where I met you, Angela, and you ended up being one of my biggest supporters in starting the automation business because as I was building my own firm as an individual practitioner, I was trying to add as much efficiency for myself as possible, building workflow, setting up technology, making it flow automatically. Having come from a big bank where creativity was not encouraged, I was no holds barred trying to add as much automation and efficiency as possible. And through the members of our study group that we were a part of, and especially your help, Angela, that kind of became its own thing. And you and I eventually ended up partnering together. And here we are 2 years later, which
You know
is,
what is so crazy to me is that you weren't in this industry and you went and sat for the CFP exam, the Certified Financial Plan. Like that just blows my mind. Like so many people have 20 years of experience in this industry and they go sit for that exam and they fail it. And you just like, oh, I'm going to do the CFP. And you know, it's just incredible to me. And then the other thing that I remember so clearly when we launched is how you would have these charts. And it was like your whole process was written down, like this step, that step. Then if they don't do this, then it goes to this. And if they don't do that, it goes to this. And then it goes to this. And I remember seeing that and I was like blown away, intimidated. I was overwhelmed. I was like, I cannot do that. I need you to help me. And I remember you sent me your stuff and I was like, wow, she's so helpful. But even when you sent it to me, I couldn't do it. I was just like, I need you to help me with this. And I say that one of the things that you always talk about, you've always talked about this, but you've always talked about process. And I know like one of your favorite people that you work with, she's all about process too. And like, that's why you love her. And process and automation are two different things, but they kind of like go hand in hand. Tell us why process is so important. And also tell us why you visually mapped it out the way you did.
that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. Process is so important because it guides everything that you do. I always like to make the analogy of building a house. If you go to build a house and you don't have a blueprint for what that house is going to look like, the floor plan, the size, the dimensions, you're going to end up with something that looks like crap. It's completely lopsided, it's not stable. So having that map before you even start building is so, so important. And that's what mapping out your process is akin to when it comes to setting up your processes and your technology. And then I like to think of the technology as the house itself. So the map is the process, the blueprint's the process, and the technology is the house. It's the thing that you build on top of that process. Because without knowing what you're going to be doing, what we've found is that if clients come to us and they don't have a well-defined process, they start uncovering areas of opportunity as they go along and then have to go back and backtrack and undo what they previously did and change it up and then start again. It adds a lot of time and inefficiency. And honestly, and people are surprised when I say this, being technology in the technology business, I always say if you had to pick one or the other, if you had to choose between establishing a process or establishing your tech and automation, hands down, no questions, process is the thing to work on. Because if you have a good process, even if you're doing some things manually, that's okay. You'll be a lot more efficient than if you have no process and you set up all this technology. You're going to end up working twice as hard trying to figure out each time you're doing the process where things are going and how to do it.
Yeah. And for people that maybe don't know, like, what does that mean, process, right? Like some people might not know what does that mean to have a process?
Yeah, I like to break it down in a couple of different ways. So I like to think of process from the smallest building block, which is a task. If there's something you have to do, that's a task. We all know what that means. You have a task list, you check it off as you go. A series of tasks is a process. And I like to, make a difference. I like to define the difference between repeatable processes. So these are things that you do over and over again. Let's say you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you eat breakfast, you start your day at work, and you do the same things in the same order every single time. That's a great candidate for making a documented process out of those separate tasks. They're linked together, they follow each other in a natural order, and that's what I would say is a really good example of a process.
You know what? This is so random. You know I'm random. But you know what comes to mind is the Jetsons. You know how like the bed like pops you out of bed and then the toothbrush comes and then you get on like this little, thing that carries you to take your food and then your food pops up and like everything's automated and it's all in order. And then you step outside and you're walking the dog and it's like everything's happening at a scheduled time in a certain order and it's automated. Like you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me as a business person, and I don't know if everyone else feels like this, but like with a business, there's things I love to do and there's other things I don't feel like doing. It's just like a child. Like a child wants to play and color and build a playhouse, but not necessarily clean up the toys and brush their teeth and, all the other stuff. So I think for me as a business owner, something that's really helped is, like you said, outlining all the different things I have to do. And then like you and I did when we merged, we kind of looked at like, what do we like doing and what do we hate doing? Mm-hmm. And how can we automate all this stuff that we hate? And I think that all business owners should do that. Why would you spend hours of your day, sometimes half your day, doing the stuff you hate doing? Why wouldn't you either automate that or have some kind of efficiency where someone else is doing it? Maybe someone who's better at doing that or whatever. And I think what you said is so important, like having your process and knowing what are all those things that I need to do. And then like we did, picking like, hey, I like doing this, I don't like doing this. Or, also looking at it from a standpoint, like which of these tasks is going to make me money? Let me focus my time and energy on the monetization part of it. And all the other stuff, let me figure out how to outsource that somehow, whether it's technology or, having a virtual assistant or whatever. Like I had that book club that I started and didn't finish this year because COVID hit and I just had a baby and was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. But anyways, one of the books we read was The 4-Hour Work Week. And the reason I chose that book was because one of my clients who's super successful was like, oh, this book changed my life. And it's so true. Like when we were reading that, I just couldn't stop thinking about you and everything that you do, because it was almost like a sales recipe for the business that you have, I think. Really to say like, why are you still doing that? Why have you not automated that, And I'm sure you see that all the time when people come to you and they know, because they come to you and they're like, Arielle, I need your help. How much is it gonna cost? I'll pay anything, And it's because like as business owners, we all know, hey, there's not enough time in the day and I need more time to do all these things I need to do, and help me, help me get there. So I know that you see a lot of that. Do you have any like random stories or examples or like any random stuff you want to share with our audience?
I was just thinking when you were saying the thing about being intimidated, it's funny to me because I felt the same way about you being a social media powerhouse. And I always tell this story when we have group coaching classes with our clients that I was terrified of public speaking before this whole business transition happened. When Angela and I joined our study group together, I was so nervous that I couldn't even introduce myself. And I felt like inside I was dying. I was shaking and I was rehearsing over and over what I was going to say beforehand. So just the idea of knowing your strengths and not being intimidated by other people, because everybody has their strengths and everybody has their weaknesses, and then working within that and playing to that. I just thought that just made me really think about that as you were saying about being intimidated by me. I felt the same way about you, Angela. I was so impressed by you, and I was like, whoa, she's so amazing. I want to be like her.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same about you. I think, I was talking to someone yesterday about this, and it goes into this point about if you're like a solo practitioner in your business. That's another thing that you and I have both learned from partnering together in our financial planning business, but then also in your automation business, you've partnered with your husband, and you've brought in employees and different partners and stuff. And I think that's really important to talk about, because what you just said speaks to that.
Yeah.
Everyone has their different experiences, their different things they like, things they enjoy doing, things they hate doing, things they're good at, things they're not so good at, all of that. And when you build a team, you're bringing together the talents of all these different people, and almost making something perfect, and I really feel that way. And do you have any kind of comments about that? Because I think a lot of business owners, and I would say both of us probably felt this way too, are scared of hiring, scared of bringing someone else on, scared of making any changes, scared of pivoting, just all of it.
I mean, I alluded earlier to the process of starting my solo firm before you and I partnered. And what I didn't mention is that I was so scared of the prospect of hiring other people and having to be responsible for other people, that not only did I not want to start my own business, but I actively spoke against starting my own business. Whenever anybody said like, oh, you're going to become a financial planner, you're going to start your, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to work for an existing practice. I never want to be a business owner. It's not at all in the cards for me. Now look at me having 2 businesses, and it's just it's the whole thing. 3, yes, technically 3. So it's just been this whole complete 180 for me, going from somebody who was completely nervous about public speaking, who never wanted to have a business or wanted to have employees or be responsible for other people, to now being a partner in 2 businesses, or 3 businesses technically, and having employees. And it's just been a huge learning experience. So I guess I say all that to say my advice to anybody who's thinking about making a transition, or who feels like, I don't know what I'm doing. Number one, we all have that imposter syndrome. And that's kind of what led me to this automation business, was me procrastinating on actually going out and getting financial planning clients. And for me, it worked out, but I doubt many people probably want to start a complete different business than what they intended to start. So it worked for me, but maybe it doesn't work for everybody. But 2, just don't be afraid to ask for help. It's hard, especially for a lot of our clients are in the similar boat. Powerhouse women, we feel like we want to be super independent. We want to do everything on our own. We're afraid to ask for help. We don't want to inconvenience other people. And I experience that still to this day on a daily basis. And I have to remind myself that there are things that I'm not good at and I don't like doing, but there are other people out there who love doing those things and are great at them. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean that there's not somebody out there who doesn't. So
yeah, you do have to remind yourself of that, because it's almost unimaginable somebody would like doing this. It's like when you don't like doing it, it's hard for you to imagine that somebody else would like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that's really, really important to note. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, gosh, I just forgot what I was going to say. So you were doing financial planning. Okay. You started this whole firm. You put all your time, energy, effort, money, everything into this financial planning firm. Okay. And it was growing, but slowly, right? And then all of a sudden, this automation thing takes off. You don't even have an automation business, but you had an automation business, right? It just popped out of nowhere. You didn't have a website. You didn't have social media. You didn't have anything. You just had people coming to you wanting help. And so essentially there was opportunity, and it was then up to you, like, do I jump on this, or do I tell them, no, I don't do this, right? And you had to make that decision. And eventually it was like so much business was coming at you on that standpoint that all the time, energy, money, everything you had poured into the financial planning business, it was like, do I now leave this behind and pivot over here to do this, even though I don't have a website, even though I don't have a business doing this, right? Tell us about that whole thought process, your fears around it. Tell us how glad you are that you did pivot, right? And take advantage of that. And tell everyone why you do not have to have a website and all of that stuff. Because, right, because we all make right? We make excuse. I don't have a website. I don't have a logo. I don't like people make these excuses when it comes to business. But the truth of the matter is, you can have a business without any of that because you did it. I've sat here and watched you do it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a process for sure, figuring out how I was going to make this business a reality. Not only did I not want to be a business owner at all, but when I started my financial planning firm, that was the goal, to be a financial planner. And so when other financial planners started asking me for help with automating their processes, I said yes. And I was excited about it because, as you mentioned, I was slowly growing the financial planning business, but it wasn't like it was booming out of nowhere. So I was like, all right, I'll just take the opportunity as it's coming to me. I'll earn some extra money on the side. And then as my financial planning business grows, then I'll transition away from that extra work. It's just something on the side to get me through. But I think that I was so passionate about it. And financial planning, I'm so passionate about financial planning. So don't get me wrong. I love working with clients one-on-one. I love working with clients in group settings. I love seeing the transformation in their financial lives. But at the same time, I do feel that by working with other financial planners, I can indirectly impact exponentially more people with their financial situation than I can help on my own as an individual. So that realization was really what pushed me into accepting this new business opportunity and moving towards growing that and not worrying so much about continuing to grow my financial planning practice. The other thing that was really helpful was having you, Angela, as a business partner. We talked about partnering. You had the opposite problem where you were getting so many financial planning clients. You were so good at market. Angela's a marketing genius with social media, so it's really awesome. But you have this gift of sharing your story and sharing your personal experiences with other people, and that really draws people in. And as you mentioned before too, you and I had different areas of interest, different areas of expertise. So that natural synchronicity between you and I really I felt like everything aligned all at the right time, where I was getting people coming in, asking for help. It was getting crazy. I couldn't even handle all of it on my own. And that's when my husband partnered in the automation business. You were there, we were talking about partnering. It just all kind of fell into place, right time. And seeing that opportunity and recognizing it and knowing and trusting that taking advantage of it was going to yield something. It was scary, but it also felt really like it was the right thing to do. And then going back to your question about the website, well, you're right. We didn't have a website for 9 months after we started working with other financial planners and helping them get their tech and automation going. And it just kind of spread through word of mouth. I mean, starting with you and the other members of our study group who were our first clients, and then you and others telling other people about our services and what we were doing. And then also taking another leap of faith and being willing to put myself out there and do some speaking engagements. I don't think it really matters how you market yourself, whether it's through a website, whether it's through social media, speaking engagements, networking in person, but it's about finding the thing that works best for you. And so in addition to that, reaching out to individuals on social media in one-on-one engagement has really worked well for me, because I'm not the type of person that loves getting up in front of a crowd and doing a presentation. I've gotten over that. Thankfully, Toastmasters has helped me become a better public speaker and not be so nervous, and I've done more of that. But there's also other ways of getting your name out there and getting your business up and running and off the ground. And it's just, again, about really finding the thing that works best for you and meets your personality and your goals.
Yeah. I just love that so much. I didn't even know it was that long, and that's just incredible. It's incredible. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And you continue to build it out. There's so many things you've offered. So let's talk a little bit about that. If someone needed your help or your expertise, what are some of the resources that you guys have created for people, and how can people work with you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, even not having had a website for 9 months, now we do have a website. So that is the best place to go to get all of the information. It's sphinxautomation.com with a Y, SPHYNX automation. And we have several different service offerings. We started off by just doing one-on-one work with clients. So boutique services, customize everything. But we've since developed some courses and some templates that are available for sale on our site. But if you have questions, my best advice is to just book an intro call. There's a link right on the homepage. We can spend 15 minutes talking about what's the right fit for you, where you're at in your process, and help you make that determination.
And I love your website, by the way. I love how you list all the different types of businesses you help, and there's templates depending on what type of business you're in. If you're a lawyer, or you're a financial planner, or whatever, you have something for everybody there. I think it's really awesome. And I think that also, like you said, all the speaking engagements you're doing, I've attended some of them. I've watched some of the recordings. There's a tremendous amount of value you give just in like if someone were to go watch those recordings. Are those available somewhere as well, or those not public yet?
Not exactly, but you know what we do have, and I completely forgot to mention this, so apologies on that. We do have, though, a free 21-day, we call it a mini course, and it's basically a course that's delivered by email. And we have a free resources page on our website with that sign up and other resources that people can use for free. We believe in giving away as much as possible, because most of what we do, and I say this and people laugh again, people are always laughing at what I say, but it's true, is that a lot of what we do is not rocket science. So the people who feel comfortable with technology, who feel like they can handle it on their own, I would encourage you to try to start on your own as much as possible, learn, and if you need help, let us know, we're here to help.
And if someone wants to find you, tell us how they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram.
And it's Sphynx Automation.
That's right.
Right?
Except for Twitter, Sphynx Automator, because it was too long to put Sphynx Automation. So.
And I will put all of that information here. So that's all I have. I just want to thank you so much for being on this with me and supporting all of this. And is there anything else you want to say before we end?
Just want to say thanks to you, Angela. Thanks to all of the people who have helped me along the way. I think the key to success has been just relying on others. I guess that's kind of the theme of our conversation today, relying on other people to help you out and supplement your knowledge and expertise. So thanks a lot for having me, Angela. I really appreciate everything that you've done for me, both as a friend and as a colleague and a business partner.
Same. It really is a community thing, and I think relationships are everything, and we all help each other, we all grow together, and it's an incredible journey, but it's that much more fun when you're doing it with other people. So I have enjoyed this. I enjoy spending every day working with you and wishing you so much more success. And thank you for being on this show. And I will see you soon.
Thank you.